Sleep ship archive. Transmission initiated, vessel status stable, all primary systems nominal. Cryosleep monitoring nominal. Archive integrity confirmed. Voyage year 214. Tonight's record comes from the gravitational archives of old Earth. The subject, gravity, what it appeared to be and what it actually was, which were not the same thing. Gravity appeared to be a force, a pull, the planet drawing things toward its center, holding them against its surface, keeping the atmosphere from dispersing into space. This description was not wrong, but it was not the full picture. What gravity actually was, the continuous effect of mass on the space around it, a reshaping of local conditions by the presence of mass, something every object inside it was always negotiating without knowing it was negotiating, was stranger and quieter than the appearance suggested. It was not a force applied from outside, it was a condition. The way the nearby mass shaped the path that everything around it would naturally follow, the bias built into the local geometry of space itself. An object inside a gravitational field was not being pushed or pulled in the ordinary sense. It was moving through a space that the mass had already shaped, following the arrangement that the conditions produced, settling, as everything eventually settles, into the position the forces around it allowed. Objects do not decide where to be. They settle into conditions. This is not a record about force or acceleration or the mathematics of planetary motion. It is about what it is like to be a body inside a gravitational field, which is to say, what it has always been like to be a body at all. It is about the direction called down and what produces it, and what it means that here, inside this vessel, that direction is manufactured rather than given. You may rest now. The archive will do the work of the night. Feel the weight of the body, not as something to manage, as information. The body is in contact with the surface it rests on. Every part of the body touching that surface is pressing against it, and the surface is pressing back with equal force. The back, the hips, the shoulders, the points of the shoulder blades, the heels. The pressure is distributed across the contact area, heavier where the body's mass concentrates, lighter where the geometry lifts it slightly away. The body is being held in a specific configuration against a specific surface, and the weight is the name for what that feels like. This is not the body pressing. This is the gravitational relationship made physical. The mass of this vessel, the hull, the machinery, the structure, the accumulated mass of everything aboard it, is continuously influencing the space in which the body rests. The mass of the body is continuously responding to that influence. The result of that exchange at this scale and at this distance is the pressure distributed across the contact points, not a force applied from outside. The result of two masses in proximity, each influencing the conditions the other moves through, the body settling into the arrangement that those conditions produce. Weight is not something the body has. Weight is what the relationship produces. The body's experience of weight is one of the most familiar experiences available to it. It has been present since before birth. The growing body in a gravitational field, its tissues responding to the continuous directional pull, its skeleton beginning to form under load, its cardiovascular system beginning to pump against the gradient. The experience of weight has never been absent, not once. The body does not know itself without it. This familiar sense of being grounded, of having a direction, of knowing without looking which way is down, is the accumulated result of biological development inside a specific gravitational condition. The inner ear contains structures that report the direction of sustained acceleration. The muscles calibrate their resting tension to maintain posture against the continuous pull. The cardiovascular system sizes itself to the pressure gradients that gravity creates across the height of a standing body. None of this is decided, all of it is continuous. The body is oriented, it knows down. It is known down for its entire existence. Here, inside this vessel, that orientation continues. The direction the body knows as down is maintained. The surface is there, the relationship is running, the weight is information. The information is, the condition is present. Nothing inside a gravitational field is truly still. An object resting on a surface appears motionless. It has arrived at a position and it holds that position. Nothing about it seems to be moving or working or changing. But stillness, in the full sense, does not exist inside a gravitational field. The object at rest on a surface is not in a state of rest. It is in a state of continuous balance. Gravity pulling it toward the center of the nearby mass, the surface beneath it pushing back with exactly the force required to prevent the pull from completing. The object is not still. It is negotiating, holding a position against forces that are continuously trying to change it. Remove the surface, and the object falls. The stillness was the surface, not the object. The body in this vessel is in the same condition. Against the surface it rests on, the body appears still. It is not still. It is in continuous negotiation. The gravitational condition of the ship pulling the body's mass in the direction of the greater mass, the surface resisting, the body suspended in the equilibrium that results. The skeleton is bearing load. The muscles are maintaining alignment against the pull. The joints are under compression. The inner ear is reporting direction. The body is doing continuous work to remain where it is, and nearly none of this work registers as effort because the body has been doing it without interruption for an entire lifetime. Stillness is a managed condition. The surface itself is not still either. The ship is in transit, moving through space, its path continuously adjusted by the cumulative gravitational influence of every mass it has passed. Every large body the ship has encountered on this voyage has bent its path slightly, has added a small component to its velocity, has been part of the negotiation. The ship's trajectory through space over 214 years of voyage is a record of the gravitational conditions along that route. Every influence absorbed, every adjustment made, the accumulated effect of everything massive enough to matter at the distances the ship has traveled. Nothing has ever simply rested. Everything has always been inside the conditions. The conditions have always been pressing. What looked like stillness was always the current result of the negotiation. The arrangement that the forces present had produced, held in place by the balance of what was pushing against what, maintained until the conditions changed enough to shift the balance. Nothing settles into true stillness. Everything settles into the current conditions and remains there until the conditions change. Falling is the natural state. This requires a small adjustment in how the word is understood. Falling in ordinary experience means something moving toward the ground, uncontrolled, accelerating, ending in impact. Falling is a loss of support. Falling is what happens when something goes wrong. But in the broader sense, falling is simply what mass does in the presence of other mass. Unsupported objects fall toward the nearest significant mass. Planets fall toward the stars they orbit. Stars fall toward the centers of galaxies. Falling is the default behavior of matter when mass is present and no surface has stopped it. What is usually called stability is not the absence of falling. It is falling that has been arrested. Stand on the surface of a planet and you are not in a stable state. You are falling. and the planet's surface is continuously stopping you. The ground pushes upward against the body with exactly the force required to prevent the fall from completing. What the body registers as weight, the sensation of the surface resisting, is the body pressing against the thing that is stopping the fall. The ground does not feel like something preventing a fall. It feels like solid ground, but the fall is there. The ground is the only reason it does not complete. Objects in orbit are falling too. A body orbiting a planet is not escaping gravity or moving outside its reach. It is falling toward the planet, continuously. The difference between an orbit and a collision is that the orbiting body is also moving sideways, fast enough that as it falls toward the surface curves away beneath it. It falls toward the planet and the planet curves away. It falls again and the planet curves away again. The orbit continues as long as the sideways speed and the direction are maintained. What appears to be a stable path, a circle or an ellipse traced out indefinitely, is a continuous fall that continuously misses its destination. The astronaut in orbit is not weightless because gravity has stopped. The astronaut is in free fall, falling toward the planet and moving sideways fast enough to miss it. The experience of weightlessness is the experience of being in a fall with nothing stopping it. No surface, no resistance. The fall continues and the body floats because it is in the same fall as the vehicle around it and nothing is pushing back. The body in this vessel is not in free fall. The ship's gravity system is providing a surface, the rotating structure, the mechanism that produces down, the thing that stops the fall. The body presses against it, the surface resists, the fall is arrested by the mechanism, and the body rests against the result. Falling is the natural state. Stability is falling, managed. Sound required a medium, air, wall, bone, water. Sound moved through material, one molecule passing the disturbance to the next, the wave propagating through whatever substance was present and capable of carrying it. Without a medium, the vibration was real and the sound was absent. Sound could not cross from the interior of the vessel into the void outside because there was nothing outside to carry it. The compression wave reached the inner surface of the hull and traveled through the material of the hull to the outer surface, and at the outer surface it stopped. There was no adjacent medium to push against. The wave had nowhere to go. Gravity does not require a medium. It acts through vacuum without the vacuum diminishing it, except by distance. It acts through the hull without the hull affecting it. It acts across the distances between stars. The distances where no medium of any kind exists, where the sparse matter of interstellar space is too diffuse to carry anything. And those distances do not stop it. They reduce it by the square of the distance, the influence spreading across an ever larger sphere as the distance increases, the density of the influence diminishing. But it does not stop. The gravity of every significant mass in this region of space is acting on this vessel right now. The star ahead, the destination, is exerting its gravitational influence on the ship across the light years of remaining distance. The star behind, the origin system star, is still pulling, its influence diminished by distance but not absent. The planets of the origin system, each of them, their accumulated mass still producing a gravitational condition that extends in all directions and does not stop at any boundary. These influences are small at this distance, but they are real. They pass through the hull. Sound stopped at the surface of the hull. The compression wave met the boundary of the medium and could not continue. The void outside the hull has never transmitted a sound, but gravity does not stop at the hull's surface. It passes through the metal and the insulation and the structural members and the interior spaces and the bodies of the sleeping colonists and everything else aboard no more difficulty than light passes through glass. The hull is a barrier to air. It is a barrier to sound. It is not a barrier to gravity. Nothing is a barrier to gravity. The body in cryosleep is being pulled by masses it has never seen. Not enough to move, not enough to measure without instruments. The ship's own mass dominates the gravitational condition at the scale of the body's position within it. But the star ahead is pulling. The star behind is pulling. The galaxy's center, tens of thousands of light years away, is pulling. These forces act on every kilogram of mass aboard this vessel, on every structural component, on the atmosphere, on the fluids in the sleeping bodies, on every particle of every molecule of every cell. Sound stopped at the hull. Gravity was never stopped by anything. Gravity is not something mass has. It is something mass does. Gravity is the effect of mass on the conditions around it, on the path that other objects follow when moving through the nearby space, not a quality belonging to the mass, contained within it. The mass's continuous effect on everything in its vicinity. Two masses in proximity shape each other's conditions, not one acting on the other while the other receives passively, both shaping the space the other moves through. The planet shapes the path of the falling rock. The falling rock shapes the path of the planet. Unmeasurably at that scale, but by the same mechanism. The relationship is mutual. The effect is asymmetric only because the masses are asymmetric. The falling object is not being pulled. It is following the path that the mass has shaped into the local space, the natural path, the path that requires no additional force to maintain, curves toward the mass. The object follows the curve. What the surface does is interrupt this path. The path leads downward. The surface says no. The weight is what that interruption feels like from the inside. Gravity is not something mass has. It is something mass does. The ship is doing it. The surface between the ship and the body holds the result in place. Down is made here. On a planet, down is given. The planet's mass accumulated over billions of years, compressing under its own gravity, settling into a sphere, arriving at the gravitational condition it would maintain across any human timescale. The gravity of a planet is not produced by a mechanism. It is the direct result of the mass, continuous, not maintained by anything that can be switched off, reliable past any engineering specification ever written. Down on a planet requires no system to be running. It requires only the planet to be present. Inside this vessel, down is produced. The rotating sections of the ship generate a centrifugal effect, the tendency of mass to move away from the center of rotation, which, when the rotation is continuous and the radius and speed are correctly specified, produces something the body experiences as identical to gravity. The inner ear cannot distinguish the two effects. The skeleton loads under the centrifugal condition the same way it loads under gravity. The fluids of the body distribute according to the same gradients. The postural muscles work against the same directional pull. The cardiovascular system maintains the same pressure differential between the head and the feet. Inside a well-designed rotating structure, the inner ear cannot tell the difference between this and a planet. But the mechanism can be interrupted in a way a planet cannot. A planet's gravity is the planet. The rotation of the ship is a system, designed, maintained, dependent on components functioning within their operational parameters. The down inside this vessel right now was a design decision. The radius of the rotation chosen for the desired effect, the rotation speed set to produce the target acceleration, the geometry of the inhabited sections planned around the requirements of the biology. Engineers chose a number. Before the section began to rotate, there was no down aboard this vessel. The decision was made. The mechanism started, and down appeared, not from a mass but from a motion, not from a planet but from a design. Down is not a direction, it is a decision. The decision has held for 214 years. The mechanism has not failed. From inside, there is no way of knowing that what the body experiences is not the gravity of a surface below it. The experience of down produced by the ship and the experience of down produced by a planet are the same experience. The source is different. The condition is identical. The mechanism is not felt. The condition is. And the condition has been present without interruption since the voyage began. The body developed inside a gravitational field. Every biological system the body uses to function was shaped by the specific gravitational condition of old Earth. Not designed for it, shaped by it, over the course of the biological history that produced the body's current form. The skeleton is dense enough to bear the body's weight under one standard gravity and calibrated to that load. The cardiovascular system was sized for the work of pumping blood against the pressure gradient that one gravity creates across the height of a standing body. The heart strong enough to push blood upward against that gradient, the veins with their valves to prevent blood from pooling in the legs, the whole system tuned to a specific directional pressure that has been present in every environment the body has ever been in. The inner ear evolved to report orientation relative to a gravitational field. The structures inside the inner ear, the small crystals resting on hair cells, the fluid-filled canals, developed to detect the direction of sustained acceleration and report it to the brain as the direction of down. They developed for this purpose inside an environment where the direction of down was constant and unambiguous. They are exquisitely sensitive to it. They are not well suited to an environment without it. Remove gravity and the calibration fails. In sustained weightlessness, the adjustment begins immediately. The skeleton, no longer loaded, begins losing density. The biological mechanism for maintaining bone mass is driven partly by the mechanical stress of bearing weight under gravity. And without that stress, resorption is no longer balanced. The cardiovascular system loses the gradient it was sized to work against. Fluid shifts headward as the lower body pooling gravity caused is released. The face swells slightly with what gravity normally held in the legs. The inner ear, deprived of a preferred direction, reports an ambiguity it was not built to receive. The postural muscles, no longer contracting against a continuous directional pull, begin to lose their calibration. Long-term weightlessness is a slow detuning from the condition the biology was built inside. Down is not a preference. Down is maintenance. The gravity simulation in this vessel keeps the biology in the condition it was built for. Not for comfort, for function. The bones continue to load. The heart continues to push blood against the correct gradient. The inner ear continues to report the correct direction. The postural systems continue to work against resistance. Every system that requires the gravitational condition to calibrate correctly remains calibrated. What down does here is keep everything running as it was built to run. The largest structures in the universe are gravitational arrangements. A planet is a sphere because as its mass accumulated, gravity pulled from all directions toward the center. The same pull regardless of approach angle, the same tendency, the same result. The material that formed the planet was not shaped into a sphere. It was pulled into one. The mass falling inward from all directions, finding the arrangement where every direction of fall arrives at the same center. The planet's form is the gravitational form. A star is the same formation at greater mass. Material pulled inward, compressing, the compression generating heat, the heat eventually sustaining fusion, the energy of fusion pushing back against the weight of the material above it. The star maintains its size because these two tendencies, collapse inward, push outward, are balanced at this moment, not stable, held. The planets do not sit in fixed orbits. They fell into the paths they currently hold, sorted by distance and velocity from the disk of material that surrounded the forming star, each arriving at the path where its speed and the star's gravitational influence reached a working balance. The orbits drift slowly over millions of years as the planets influence each other, as small perturbations accumulate, as the negotiation continues. Galaxies have the forms they have because of gravity, the spiral arms, the central concentration. None of it designed. All of it, the shape that the gravitational conditions among hundreds of billions of masses produce over billions of years of mutual influence. The arrangement is always settling toward configurations the forces allow, never quite arriving. Every large thing is a negotiated arrangement. The gravity of old Earth was not chosen. It was the result. The specific gravitational condition produced by the mass of a specific planet at the specific radius of its surface. The mass accumulated over billions of years of planetary formation, compressed by its own gravity, settling into the sphere that the gravitational condition produced. The result at the surface was a downward acceleration of 9.8 meters per second squared, not as a formula, as a fact, as the thing that was simply there. The condition that everything on the surface of that planet was inside continuously, whether it thought about it or not. Every living thing on old Earth developed inside this condition. The biology of that planet did not adapt to gravity in the way an organism adapts to a new food source or a new predator, as a specific response to a specific challenge. The gravity was the environment. Every biological structure, every system, every process that the biology of that planet uses to function, developed inside the condition, shaped by it the way a river is shaped by its banks, not working against it, but working within it, calibrated to it in ways that do not look like calibration because there was never a version without it. The body carries this calibration now. The bone sized for old Earth load, the heart sized for old Earth gradients, the inner ear calibrated to old Earth down. These are not features the body developed for gravity. They are the body, shaped by the long history of development inside a specific gravitational relationship. The features that appear designed for gravity are designed for nothing. They simply emerged inside a gravitational field over a long enough time that the field shaped them completely. The body is a record of that field. It carries the calibration of a gravitational relationship that it left behind. The source of the calibration is billions of years and an entire planet away from where the body is now. But the calibration is running, and the ship's gravity simulation is close enough to the original that the calibration continues to function as intended. There are subtler markers too, the proportions, the length of the limbs relative to the torso, the size of the heart relative to the volume of blood it moves, the density of the heel bones that absorb each step under that specific gravity. All of these are old Earth gravity expressed in biological form, not chosen features, not adaptations to anything specific, simply the form that emerged from long development inside that particular condition, shaped the way a stone is shaped by the river it lies in for long enough. The body does not know it left. The body in this vessel is the same body that stood on old Earth. The bones are the same bones. The cardiovascular system is the same cardiovascular system. The inner ear is the same inner ear. with the same structures evolved to report the same direction under the same conditions. The calibration that old Earth gravity shaped is still the operating system. The ship's gravity simulation is the input the calibration is receiving. If the simulation is accurate, if the number the engineers chose matches closely enough what the body was built for, the body cannot distinguish old Earth from this vessel. The colonists in cryosleep have been inside the gravitational condition of this ship for the entire voyage. 214 years of managed down. The bones have continued to load. The cardiovascular systems have maintained the gradients. The inner ears have had a direction to report to. The biological systems that require the gravitational condition to calibrate correctly have remained calibrated, not because anything active is maintaining them. The colonists in cryosleep are not awake, not exercising, not consciously doing anything. But because the condition has been present, and the passive loading of the skeleton, and the passive pressure gradients of the cardiovascular system, and the passive reporting of the inner ear have all continued in the background of the suspended biology. The bodies in cryosleep do not know the voyage is happening. They know in the only way the body knows things, through the continuous reporting of the systems that monitor the condition. That down is there, that the bones are bearing load, that the inner ear has a preferred direction, that the cardiovascular system is working against the correct gradient. These reports continue. The condition is present. There will be a moment when the colonists wake, when the body registers the surface and the direction and the weight and finds them consistent with what it has always known. No alarm, no sense of strangeness. The condition produced by 214 years of mechanism will be indistinguishable from the condition produced by the planet those bodies left. The calibration will not need to adjust. The bones will already be dense. The heart will already know the gradient. The inner ear will already have its direction. The waking body will settle into down as if it had never been away from it. Because it has not been. Down has been here the whole time. The mechanism is running. The condition holds. Down is here. Feel the weight again. The pressure distributed across the contact between the body and the surface. The back, the hips, the specific points where the body's mass concentrates against what holds it. This pressure is not applied to the body from outside. It is the result. The current expression of the gravitational relationship between the mass of the body and the mass of the ship, the continuous mutual influence that produces the direction called down, arrested by the surface that lies between the body and the center of that influence. The weight is the presence of the relationship. The body has never been without this weight. Not one moment of its existence has passed outside a gravitational field. Not one moment before it was born, not one moment of its development, not one moment of its experience on old Earth, and not one moment of this voyage. The gravitational condition has been constant, different in source, identical in character. The planet's gravity and the ship's simulation are two ways of producing the same condition, and the body cannot tell them apart. The weight is familiar because it has never been absent. It is not a burden. It is not the body being pressed against a surface by something external. It is the current state of the gravitational negotiation. The body settled into the arrangement the conditions produce, the surface holding the balance point, the weight the name for what that equilibrium feels like from the inside. The body is not being held down. The body is settled into the conditions, into the arrangement that the mass of the ship and the mass of the body produce between them. This is what it is to be a body with mass inside the influence of another mass, not trapped, not constrained, but negotiated into a position. The way everything with mass eventually negotiates a position. The way planets settle into orbits and water settles into its container, and the atmosphere settles against the surface that gravity holds it against. The body has settled. The surface is there. The ship's mass is influencing the space the body occupies. The body's mass is responding to that influence. The surface between them is holding the result of that exchange in place. The weight is the evidence of all of this. The continuous, physical, present evidence that the relationship is running and the condition is maintained. This is what it has always felt like to be a body in a world with mass. The last record noted that sound stopped at the hull. The compression wave reached the outer surface of the hull and found no medium to continue into. The void outside the vessel has no air, no adjacent molecules to push against, no material through which the disturbance could propagate. The wave stopped at the boundary of the medium. The sound stopped at the boundary of what could carry it. Gravity does not stop at the hull. There is no gravitational boundary. Gravity does not require a medium and is not carried by one. It does not propagate through material the way sound propagates. Molecule to molecule, contact to contact, the wave dependent on the presence of something to pass through. Gravity acts directly on space itself, not on what fills space, but on the geometry of space, on the path that objects follow when they move through it. A vacuum does not weaken gravity. A hull does not absorb it. The absence of matter does not create a region where gravity cannot reach. The hull stops air. The hull stops light. The hull stops sound at its inner surface. Gravity passes through the hull as if the hull were not there, because for gravity it is not there. The gravitational influence of the ship extends outward through the hull into the void. The gravitational influence of every mass in the region extends inward through the hull to the bodies inside. The star ahead is pulling this ship. The star is pulling the bodies of the colonists. Each of them, individually, their mass responding to the star's gravitational condition across the distance. The influence is vanishingly small at this range. The instruments required to detect it are not available to the body, but the pull is real. It is present. It is acting continuously on every gram of mass aboard this vessel, including the mass of every sleeping body. Nothing outside the hull carries sound. Everything outside the hull is in gravitational relationship with what is inside it. There is no position anywhere in the universe from which gravity does not reach. The sources are different at every position, closer to this mass or farther from it, dominated by this field or that one. The balance of influence is different at every point in space. But the absence of gravitational influence does not exist. Every mass in the universe is producing its condition continuously, and every other mass is inside the condition of all the others, to some degree, at every moment. The sleeping colonists aboard this vessel are inside the gravity of the ship. They are inside the gravity of the star they left. They are inside the gravity of the star they are approaching. They are inside the gravity of every large mass in the galaxy, each pull too small to measure, all of them real, all of them continuous, all of them passing through the hull and through the bulkheads and through the cryogenic chambers and through the bodies, without any of those surfaces offering the slightest resistance. This is what it is to have mass, to be continuously in relationship with everything else that has mass, to be always inside a condition you did not choose and cannot leave. The hull contains sound. Gravity was never contained by anything. Return now to the body, the surface it rests against. The weight distributed across the contact, the back, the hips, the specific pressure points. The direction that is down, steady and continuous. The inner ear reporting it without being asked. The postural muscles maintaining alignment against it, the bones bearing the load. The breath, the same air that carries sound through this vessel. The medium that moves in and out of the body, the continuous exchange with the atmosphere of the ship, has weight. Every molecule of it is being influenced by the ship's gravitational condition. The air column above the body is heavy. It presses downward with the accumulated weight of every molecule stacked between the body and the overhead. The body breathes at the bottom of that column. The atmospheric pressure, the result of all that weight pressing down. The air the body breathes is there, settled to the floor, concentrated in the inhabited spaces rather than distributed randomly through the volume of the vessel, because gravity holds it there. The same mechanism that holds the body holds the atmosphere. The hum of the systems is present. The familiar frequency signature of this vessel in operation, carried through the structure, through the surfaces, into the body in contact with them. The cryogenic systems maintaining the colonists. The environmental systems managing the temperature and atmosphere. The navigation systems continuously adjusting for the gravitational influences the ship is moving through. The accumulated pulls of every mass along the route, each adding a small component to the ship's trajectory, each requiring a small correction to maintain the planned path. The ship is continuously negotiating its position. Every mass it has passed on this voyage has added something small to its trajectory. Every gravitational influence along the route has been measured, accounted for, corrected against. The ship does not travel in a straight line. Nothing in the universe travels in a straight line, because there are no straight lines in a universe full of mass. Every path curves. Every path is the result of the accumulated gravitational negotiations of everything the traveler has encountered. The ship's path through space is not the path it would have taken in an empty universe. It is the path that 214 years of gravitational influence has shaped, adjusted for, and used. Inside it, the body is inside its condition. The bones are loading. The inner ear has its direction. The cardiovascular system is maintaining the correct gradients. The gravity simulation is running. The mechanism has not failed. The condition produced 214 years ago, when the rotating sections reached their operational speed and down appeared aboard this vessel, is still present. Identical in character to what it was on the first day of the voyage, identical in character to what it was on old Earth. The body is settled. The conditions are maintained. The archive record for gravity is now complete for this transmission. Gravity was not a force applied to objects from outside. It was a condition, the continuous effect of mass on the space around it, experienced by every other mass in proximity as a bias toward the source. The bias was not negotiable and was not escapable. Every object with mass was inside some gravitational relationship, always, regardless of where it was or what surrounded it. The universe did not offer a position outside all gravitational fields. It offered only different configurations of the relationships, near a large mass or far from one, inside a strong field or a weak one, in a stable orbit or in a fall that would eventually complete. Falling was the natural state. Stability was falling, managed. What stopped a fall was always something, a surface, an orbit, a balance of forces that held the object in a negotiated position. Stability was not the absence of the gravitational condition. Stability was the condition, plus whatever arrested the fall. The body lying against a surface was not in a state of rest. It was in a state of managed fall. The gravitational pull present, the fall arrested, the equilibrium between them producing the experience of weight and the experience of being held in place. The body in this vessel is in the condition it was built for. Old Earth's gravity shaped every biological system the body contains. The ship's simulation maintains that condition across the voyage. The bones do not know the ship from the planet. The inner ear cannot tell the mechanism from the field. The body receives the condition and operates inside it. Settled into the arrangement the forces around it produce. As everything with mass settles into the arrangements the forces around it produce. The surface is there, the relationship continues, you have settled, the conditions are maintained. Sleep Ship Archive. Transmission complete, vessel status stable, cryosleep monitoring nominal, all systems nominal, archive records sealed and filed. Voyage continues, the weight is still there, please continue restorative sleep.